I didn't really get to.
Should we move them back a little bit? Or
What do you mean?
Just because there are people here.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Everybody knows my Hanukkah. What is Hanukkah? My Hanukkah. I guess we don't know. That's what the Gemara asked the question. My Hanukkah. Still a question. Even after we know, we still don't know. Because the Gemara doesn't ask us about anything. Chashmonayim entered into the Beis Hamikdash. They saw the matzah of Hach Echad Shel Shemen Shayu Muna B'Chayz Shel Ger Gadol Loyva Lahadik Yom Echad. They found Hach Shemen, one jug of oil that can only last for one night. Nasa V'Nes V'Likabur. Shmoyne Yomim, a miracle happened that it lasted for 8 nights. The next year, L'Shon Acheres, Kovim V'Osa Yom Tovim B'Halal Loidah. The next year, they established Chanukah as a holiday, as a Yom Tov, B'Halal Loidah. Halal means to sing praise and to offer thanks. Obviously, what's not said here is that they didn't establish it Ad Lokas Ner. It doesn't say that they established it and to light the candle. It says B'Halal Loidah. So this is one thing. But clearly, there's a continuity, there's a connection that they didn't find enough oil El Lahadin Ben Der Echad for one night. And since it lit for 8 nights, therefore we light the candles. In the Gemara, there's a big discussion between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. There's an argument of how do you light the candles? You light 1, 2, 3, which is the Shitta of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, or you light 8, 7, 6, 5. Do you light up or you light down? The obvious question is, how could there be machlokes? How could there be an argument? They established the Yom Tov. The next year they established the Yom Tov. If the next year they established the Yom Tov, what did they establish? To do it 8, 7, 6, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4. How could there be an argument? It's impossible for there to be an argument if they the Shana Acheres Kavum, the next year they established the holiday. So that's why it seems Yesh Loimer, and it's actually brought down in Poskim. The Moshe Shtamrach also brings it down, and it's said in the Shem of Baruch Ber, that actually the first few years, which means Bizman Beis Hamikdash Hayakayim, they did not light candles in their home. There wasn't a need to light the candles in the home. Why didn't they light the candles in the home? Because it was lit in the Beis Hamikdash. They had it there. The Gemara was lit in the Beis Hamikdash. So L'Shon Acheres Kavum B'Halal B'Idah. And then when the Churban Abayis, they established it also at Ad Lokas Ner. So Ad Lokas Ner, clearly the lighting of the candles on Chanukah is a continuation of Ad Lokas Ner in the Beis Hamikdash. Clear? If so, there's an Eisner Shal, there's a big question. In the Gemara, in Shabbos, the Gemara has a big conversation whether Hadlaka is a mitzvah or Hanacha is a mitzvah. Is the mitzvah to light candles on Chanukah, is the mitzvah the lighting the candle? Or is the mitzvah that it should be lit and placed in its proper location? La halacha, what's the ruling according to halacha? La halacha, hadlaka oisa mitzvah. La halacha, the lighting the candles is the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to light the candles. One of the proofs that the mitzvah is to light the candles is from the bracha. When we say the bracha, how do we say the bracha? Lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, or lahadlik ner Chanukah, to light the candles of Chanukah, which means that the mitzvah is hadlaka is a mitzvah. The mitzvah is to light the candles. It's such an important idea of hadlaka, that hadlaka is a mitzvah, is that what happens if you light the candles? Let's say tonight you light the candles after it says, and 5 minutes later a wind comes and blows out your candle. Do you have to relight them? Halachically. No, because hadlaka is a mitzvah. But in Shulchan Aruch there's a major chiddush, a bigger chiddush, from Tumas Hadeshin. Tumas Hadeshin writes that what happens if you light the candles Erev Shabbos? When do you have to light the candles? You have to light it on Friday. You can't light it on Shabbos. You can't light it, it says. So you light the candles on Friday. It's not yet Shabbos. And then, afilu kosav Erev Shabbos koidim kabbalas HaShabbos, which means it's not yet Shabbos. It's still Friday. You lit for Shabbos. You lit for the next night. And then the candles go out. You have to relight the candle. So according to Tumas Hadeshin, ain't zakuk law, you don't have to light the candle again because you did that blocker. Which means, what this means, the Taz argues with this, the Tumas Hadeshin, but what the Tumas Hadeshin is saying is that when you light the candle and it potentially can be lit for an hour, even if it goes out 5 minutes later, and even when it goes out, it wasn't even yet Hanukkah, or the next day of Hanukkah, you're still Yotze the mitzvah. Because the main thing in Chanukah is to light the candle. The main thing is that blocker, right? Where do we know about lighting candles? Where does it come from, we say? Lighting candles comes from Hadlakas Beis HaMikdash, the lighting of the candles in Beis HaMikdash. The Rambam rules. Halacha Rambam. V'chein in Hilchos Bias HaMikdash Perek Tes. Halacha Zayin. The Rambam says, V'chein hadlakas haneres ksheir b'zor. The lighting of the candle is kosher b'zor. Normally, the avodah, the Beis HaMikdash, has to be done by the Kohen. But the lighting of the candle of the menorah is kosher b'zor, which means any person can light the candle. You don't have to be a Kohen. The Fikah, im heitiv ha-Kohen haneres. If the Kohen prepared the neres, according to the Shittas HaRambam, the lighting, the hatavas haneres is the mitzvah. To prepare the candles, and it should be ready to be lit in the menorah, in the Beis HaMikdash, that's the mitzvah. Mitzvah's essay is latavas haneres. When the Torah says la'alos, or ba'alos ches haneres, you should light the candles, doesn't mean to light the candles, it means you should prepare the candles that they could be lit. The hachana, the hatava of these candles. How about the lighting itself? Ksheir b'zor. How could it be? The fikach. Im heitiv ha-kohen haneres. If the kohen prepared the candles, and then he took the candles out, mutter lezar ladlikum. A zar, which means a Yisrael, an Israelite, not a kohen, not a Levi, is allowed to light the menorah. Comes along the Rav and says, Hiflik. He's exaggerating. The Rambam was exaggerating. The Gemara Taka says in Yuma, Daf Chav Dalet, that hadlakas haneres is ksheir b'zor because it's lav avodah. It's not considered an avodah. But the Rav says hiflik. It means she'im hitlikom ksheres. If you light it, it's kosher. But the Rambam doesn't say that. The Rambam says mutter. Mutter means you're allowed to. Not that if by mistake, by accident, something happened, and the non-kohen lit the menorah, then it's okay. According to the Rambam, it's ksheir in the zar. It's kosher lechatchila that you're allowed to light the zar. Now, you can park as if you could say that when it's in the heichel, it's like the mitzvah hadlaka is taka by the kohen. But if it's not in the heichel, then ksheir in the zar is allowed to light it. Why is a zar allowed to light the menorah? What's the svara? Svara pshuta. It says Reb Chaim Alevi, Chaim Brisker. Chaim Brisker writes on this halacha of the Rambam. Muchach b'das Rambam. We're forced to say that according to the Rambam, the chol ikar hachbilsa hadlakas haneres eina mitzvah be'etzem ma'isa hadlaka. The mitzvah is not to light the candles. The mitzvah is that they should be lit at all times. Not the hadlaka is the mitzvah, not to light the candles, but that they should be lit. When you light something, it is lit. But the question is, what is the mitzvah? Is the mitzvah to light it, or is the mitzvah should be lit? Says Reb Chaim, that according to the Shittas Rambam, the mitzvah of lighting the candles in the menorah is not the mitzvah of hadlaka, the mitzvah should be lit. This is mamish the opposite of hadlakas neiros in Chanukah. Hadlakas neiros Chanukah, we say hadlaka is a mitzvah. That the main part of the mitzvah is that you should light it, not that it should be lit. So much so that even if you light it Erev Shabbos, and it's still not the next night, it's still, if kafsa ain't zakaklo, if it goes out, you still don't have to do it. So by Chanukah, the mitzvah is dafka hadlaka. And l'shittas Rambam, by neiros Chanukah, by neiros Hamikdash, the mitzvah is dafka that they should be lit. There's no mitzvah to hadlakas neiros. So what's the oimik pshat of this? How is this the same thing, and it's based on the same thing? The neiros Chanukah is based on neiros Hamikdash. And neiros Hamikdash, you say, dafka should be lit, and neiros Chanukah, hadlaka is a mitzvah. We have to understand the oimik of what the pshat is. We're going to get to the Oragonus. This is going to help us understand this shit. Interesting thing is that it appears that there's another similar type of avoida where we find a similar idea. In Hilchos Beis HaBchira, the Rambam writes like this: Ein boinim es hamikdash balayla. There's a mitzvah to binyan Beis HaMikdash. Ein boinim es Beis HaMikdash balayla. You're not allowed to build a Beis HaMikdash balayla. Which means it's a mitzvah saseh shazman gram. It's a mitzvah that is time bound. Ein boinim es hamikdash balayla. In the same halacha, 3 lines later, the Rambam writes, Val kol chayovim livnois v'lesai v'atzmu v'memoinam anoshim v'noshim k'mikdash hamidbar. That men and women, everybody is mechuyev, is obligated to participate in the building of the Beis HaMikdash. You just said that ein boin Beis HaMikdash b'layla. You don't build the Beis HaMikdash b'layla, which means that it's a mitzvah say shazman grama. It's a mitzvah say that's time now. We know that women are potter for mitzvah say shazman grama. If women are potter for mitzvah say shazman grama, how could the Rambam write the next line? V'akol chayovim anoshim v'noshim. The Lashon Rambam, Beis HaBchira, in the beginning of Beis HaBchira, Perek Aleph, Allah Aleph, the mitzvah says la'ases bayis la'Hashem. The mitzvah says to make the bayis. But there's another Lashon, Sefer HaMitzvahs in the Shloshim, Shoyesh Shnei Masa, the Rambam writes, the mitzvah sheyil lonu bayis muchen. The mitzvah is that there should be for us a home that is prepared. Which means like this. What's the mitzvah binyan hamikdash? Let's break down the mitzvah into 3 dimensions, 3 parts. There is the hachana for the mitzvah, preparing for the mitzvah. There is the pu'ula of the mitzvah, and there's the nifal of the mitzvah. There's the preparing, the action, and the reaction. 3 different points. According to the Shittas Rambam, we could say that the mitzvah is the hachana and the nifal. The mitzvah is to prepare to build a Beis HaMikdash, and the nifal is liyas lanu bayis mucham l'akbar b'kavanis, that we should have a bayis that is ready to bring offerings. The mitzvah is not in the pu'ula. The mitzvah is not in the action. The mitzvah is in the hachana, and the mitzvah is in the nifal, which is the same parallel according to the Shittas Rambam, according to the opinion of the Rambam, which is regards to the Menorah Hamikdash. The Menorah Hamikdash, the mitzvah is hatavas haneres and sheyidolach. The mitzvah is that you should prepare the menorah and that it should be lit. But there's no mitzvah in the pu'ula. Why is there no mitzvah in the pu'ula? When you saw there's no mitzvah in the pu'ula, this is how you answer the Rambam. The Rambam says that the mitzvah to prepare yourself to help build the Beis HaMikdash is a chiyuv tamidi. It's a chiyuv, it's an obligation at all times, both by yom and by layla, by day and by night. The actual binyan hamikdash ain't building the hamikdash by layla. You don't build the Beis HaMikdash by night, but that's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is to do everything in your possibility of building the Beis Hamikdash. It's to get the materials, to find the materials, to get the right space, to do everything. The technicality is that the actual putting the stone together, without a hammer, but the putting the stones together, that's Balayla. The Chana, now this actually answers, the Maril Liskin asked a famous question on the Rashi, Shittas Rashi, that holds that La'asalavi, Migdash Amne, the Rashi says in Sukkot, that La'asalavi will be in Migdash Shalesh. That it'll descend from heaven. The Beis Hamikdash will descend from heaven. This is not the Shittas Rav, this is Shittas Rashi. But what's with the mitzvah Asli Migdash? What's Asli Migdash? They said, no, that's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is not to make it. The mitzvah is you should miss asik in building the Beis Hamikdash. So if you daven for it, that's part of the mitzvah asik. And then the nifl never happens. When you get to the mitzvah, you didn't do binyan Migdash. So we just have to understand a little bit, what does this takin mean? Why is it that by binyan Beis Hamikdash, by the building of the Beis Hamikdash, the hachana, the preparation to build the Beis Hamikdash is a mitzvah, and the nifal, that it should be built, is a mitzvah, but not the actual building. Now why is by Lakas Neiros the same thing? The mitzvah, you should prepare the Neiros, you should prepare the candles, that it should be lit, and it should be lit, that it should be a daluk is the mitzvah, but no mitzvah lahadlik. And by Neiros Chanukah, it's almost the opposite. Dafka, the mitzvah, is lahadlik. Especially if one is based on the other. This is the Shaila. Now, you see that in general, when the Torah says, let's say, that the sukkah stays for Shivas Yamim, you have to sit in the sukkah 7 days. Is there a mitzvah to build a sukkah, or the mitzvah you should sit in the sukkah? Because the only way you can sit in the sukkah is if you build it. So if the achana, the hechsher mitzvah, is the hechsher mitzvah considered a mitzvah on its own? This is a big shayla in Poskim, if a hechsher mitzvah is a mitzvah. Now we don't find, at least according to the Bavli, Yerushalmi is another opinion, but according to the Bavli and Makis, if a person builds a sukkah, they can't make a bracha. Baruch atah Hashem elokeinu melech haolam asher tzivanu livnei sukkah. When do you make the bracha on the sukkah? When you sit in the sukkah. But in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Hilchos Kachim, the laws of Kachim, you see that the Torah actually gives weight not only to the actual action that you do, but also to the preparation. For example, let's give you two examples. Mitzvah saseh la'asois shemen hamishcha. There's a mitzvah saseh to make the shemen hamishcha, the anointing oils. Then there's a separate mitzvah to anoint. But there's a mitzvah saseh la'asois. That's in Hilchos Kevish Beis Perek Aleph. Perek Beis. Haktoris nasim b'chol shana v'shana. V'asiyos a mitzvah saseh. Avodas haktoris. There's a mitzvah to make the ketores and to offer the ketores. The oimik of this is why do we find? Okay, we can talk about it in the world of halacha. Let's try to find a little bit more oimik, a little bit deeper. The oimik of this is the depth of this halacha is that in the Beis Hamikdash there's no means to an end. Everything's an end in itself. In the Beis Hamikdash, holy action means that you're not doing something for something else. You're doing it for yourself. So in the Avodas Hamikdash, asiyasoi is itself a mitzvah. Asiyas mitzvah is the mitzvah. You're making the Torah, it's a mitzvah. You're making the Klei Mishkan, it's a mitzvah. You're preparing the menorah, it's a mitzvah. That's the oimik. Still doesn't answer the question of what's the chiluk between these two things, between these two ideas, or why by the Beis Hamikdash specifically, and by menorah there's no mitzvah in the pukula. Chazal tell us, with regards to the menorah, Gemara says that when you prepare the candle, What's the point? Is it needed for its light? Is the reason for lighting the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash for the light? You simply needed a fire to light. It should be lit up. It's like a bulb. The Gemara says, the point of the lighting of the menorah is to reveal the idea that the Shekhinah is Shruya. That it shows that the resting of the Shekhinah is present in this place. So the lighting of the menorah is to reveal the presence of the Shekhinah. Now every mitzvah does really reveal the presence of the Shekhinah, but clearly the lighting of the menorah itself has a specific oir, a specific light that reveals the presence of the Shekhinah. This is very similar to the actual whole project of the Mishkan. According to the Shittas HaRambam holds that the tzivui, the mitzvah to make the Mishkan, also the Mikdash, is directly following the story of Matan Torah. And the point of making the Mishkan is for Hashem's Shekhinah, for the Shekhinah, the point of Hashem, to rest amongst the people. So we see that a parallel between these two mitzvahs is Binyan HaMikdash is both Klali, and a general principle is the Shekhinah, the presence of the Shekhinah. And then the menorah specifically is the presence of the Shekhinah. Okay, that just makes a parallel, but doesn't answer the question. So we could say like this. Let's say one akuta, 1 point, and we'll get one more. There's a yisoid, there's a foundation that's brought down in the Zohar HaKadosh, and the Maharal, of course, is also in Purim. The Zohar HaKadosh writes that in the Torah we find sometimes, let's say the story in the Megillah specifically, it says over there that the king was sleeping. The Gemara says, Hashem is sleeping, and then, they asked for Sefer as a Chronis to be read, the book of the Chronicles to be read in front of the king. It doesn't say actually who read the book. It doesn't say, and they, the people that were attending to Achashverosh, read the Sefer as a Chronis. There's no Pu'ula. The same thing also we find in the story with the girl. Hipol Pur, who are girl lifnei Haman. They threw a lottery, that's a girl, that's a lottery in front of Haman. Who Hipol Pur? Hipol Pur, who threw the lottery? So the Maharal writes, whenever there's no name given to the act, it means that Hashem Kaviyachal is doing it. The Shekhinah, it's the presence of the Shekhinah is now here. The Shekhinah is now here. Which means, when there's the revelation of the presence of the Shekhinah, there's no poil, there's no active act, there's a nifel, there's a chana you can prepare for the mitzvah. The mitzvah should be lit, but there's no poil, there's no meat. At this point, when you're lighting the menorah, the Shekhinah's presence is lighting the menorah. There's no poil, it's a nifel. This is why the Neiros HaMikdash and the Binyan HaMikdash, there's no mitzvah in the actual Binyan. There's no poil. Who built the Beis HaMikdash? The Eibusha built the Beis HaMikdash. You have to messiah it. You have to help. You have to bring the materials and maybe even put the rock on top of each other, and maybe even light the candle. But you're not lighting it. Kaviyachol, the Eibusha's presence is lighting. And Hashem's presence is lighting the candle. There's no poil. Because it's the presence of the Shekhinah. These specific things. But it still doesn't answer the question, because then we have to understand, so what is Hanukkah? How come Hanukkah we don't? Dafka Chanukah, Davlokah is a mitzvah, it's the presence of the Shekhinah, and now we're going to have to understand a little about the Oyer HaGodos. So there's a famous question of the Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef asked the question. Everyone knows the question. The Gemara just said that they had enough oil to last for one night, and it lasted for 8 nights. Which means, according to our version of the Gemara, they had enough oil for one night. There's also a version in the Shiltz of Achai Goyim, which says, they didn't even have for like one night. But our version is that they had for one night. There's a fascinating calculation by the Talmud Yaakov Yosef, for the student of Baal Shem, that he does a calculation for that night of the story of Hanukkah, and he says that was the longest night of the year. Because if it wasn't the longest night of the year, then they would have had a little for the next night also. Let's say that night was only 10 hours. And the longest night, the midah that they always prepared the Sheben, was for 12 hours. So then they had 2 hours for the next night also. So the Torah says, no, that was actually the longest night of the year. And he does a calculation. So there's no oil left. But still for the first night there's no miracle, because they had oil for one night. This is the famous question of Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef has 3 different roots, a different answer. They split into 8s, every night burned another 8th. And there's very big problems with the answer of Beis Yosef, because it's Shemen Nissi, it's miraculous oil, you know, bring Nissim, or Tel Amidasi, you have to give full oil. Different chilukim. The Rav DovBer has a huge slaughter like this. That the miracle was actually not in the Shemen. The miracle is in the oil. I'm sorry, the miracle is not in the Shemen, the miracle is in the fire. It's not the oil was miraculous, it was the fire was miraculous. Where do you see miraculous fire in the Torah? Everyone knows the story of the sneh. When Moshe comes to the sneh, the Torah says that he sees Surah of Eretz Mara Azois. He says, let me go see this beautiful, wondrous vision. And he sees that there's an eish, a huge fire, v'asnei u'chol. The fire doesn't consume. The Medrash Rabbah on that verse says, asnei u'chol, that eish l'mayla nisraf vein nichla. The higher fire burns but doesn't consume. So it was a gather of a higher light of fire, a type of the Oyer Agonos, was a higher fire. Not the regular fire that we're talking about. And the miracle was that there was an Oyer, the Shekhinah was present, the Gilui Shekhinah was of this Oyer Agonos. It's interesting that the Zohar HaKadosh in the beginning of Parshas Bereshis says that the word Oyer appears 5 times. Also do 5 times Rakia, 5 times, there's 5 appears in the beginning of Bereshis. And in the Sneh, it's also 5. If you look in the Psukim, it says 5 times the word Sneh. Which means that Moshe, at that point, saw the Oyer Agonos, the original fire, the original light that was created. We learned also today, some people have learned, the Gemara Yerushalmi says that for Lam Vav Shois, 36 hours, that Adam Achavar were in Gan Eden, and then the Yerushalmi makes a cheshbon that was 36 hours, it's the 12 hours of Friday and the 24 hours of Shabbos. For 36 hours, that Adam Achavar were in Gan Eden, they bathed in the higher light, the Oyer Agonos, they would see from one end of the universe to the world, to the other. So the Rekeach writes, well, the Rekeach and Lezer Gemeiser writes, that 36 is the times of the amount of words Oyer appear in the Torah, and 36 is the accumulative number how much candles you light on Chanukah. So somehow in Chanukah, we're connecting to the Oyer Agonos. We have to make this clear because we just said before that in order to connect with the Oyer Agonos, to the higher light, which is the presence of the Shekhinah, there can be a poil. And here in the Afghan Chanukah, there's a madlik. There's a Shachal HaTorah that says, V'chol b'nei Yisrael ha'oibim v'shloisam. There's different madrashim how long each makkah lasted. According to one opinion, each makkah lasted a month. So the 9th month of the year, which is Chodesh Kislev, 3 weeks was the warning for the makkah, and the 4th week, which starts Chav Daled, is when the 9th makkah happened, which is Choshech. What happens with Choshech? The same light that brought darkness to one people brought light to another. This is the light that was originally brought down. I said to someone before, and it's also brought down in Sfarim, that if the Or Shenivra B'Tchilas was created in Chafei Elul, so 9 months before that, which means when did the world impregnate with the idea of the Chafei, of the Oiris, Chafei Kislev was actually 9 months prior to the birth of the Oir that came out in Elul. This is what Kislev is. Kislev is the case Lamed Vav, the hidden 36, or the Kislev Lamed Vav, which you reveal through Chanukah. Vayi Or, Vayi Hashem Vayi Or, Vayi Or. So Yehi is also Or is the 25th word in the Torah. So the 20 Yehi is 25. So that day, on the 25th day of Kislev, there's a relation of this light. These are all remazim for this idea, but it still doesn't answer the question. The Gemara says that this light was nignaz. The Gemara Chagiga, right, says that the light of the original creation was nignaz, was hidden. For lost along for the future. We learn from the Dagel Machna Ephraim. It's also brought down by Talmidei HaMagid. It's actually a Zohar also. It says that where was this light nignaz? It was nignaz b'Torah. The light was hidden in the Torah. What does it mean that the light was hidden in the Torah? Torah is called Torah Or. There's two types of Torah. There's two revelations of Torah. There's Torah Or, Torah Shebiksav, the written Torah, which is direct revelation. It's called Or Yasher. It's revealed light. It's revealed. Then there's Or Chayzer, return light. Return light means the Or is reached through Chayshech, through darkness. The Rambam, in the beginning of the Moreh Nevuchim, brings out a mashal. Perik Beis brings a mashal, the difference between somebody walks into a room and turns on the lights. That's Or Yasher. You see exactly what's going on in the room. Here's the table, here's a chair. I know exactly. I ordered it myself. And then there's another type of walking around the room. You go into a dark room and you don't see anything, and you bump around. You hit a table, you hit a chair, and then when someone asks you, "Is there a table in the room?" You say, "There's definitely a hard-edged table in the corner." Why? Because you bumped into it. So you know the Or is actually higher revealed. If you walk into a room for 30 seconds and someone says, "Look in the room," then come out. Says, "What did you see there?" Not after you're going to remember that there's a sharp-edged table. But if you bumped into it and you bumped into the wall, you're going to say, "There's a wall there and there's a sharp-edged thing there," etc. Sometimes the clarity that comes, the Or that comes through the Chayshech is a higher level of Or. So when it says that the Or was hidden in the Torah, it was hidden in which part of the Torah? It was hidden in the Torah Shemalta. The Gemara in Sanhedrin says, "B'machshakim heshivani, pasuk necha, machshakim zu Torah zu Talmud Bavli." That machshakim through darkness, this is Talmud Bavli. This is the Babylonian Talmud. And the Babylonian Talmud, how many Masechtas are in the Gemara? 36. So Pinchas Kar says 36, effectively 36 lights. The Pasuk in Yeshaya says that the nation that's walking in darkness sees a great light. So the Tanchuma writes that this is Torah Shemal Peh. Torah Shemal Peh is the gather of a Hamo Cholchem B'Chayshech, that we're going in darkness, and somehow through the darkness we get into the light. Be'er Moshe Satorah Azois, Hoyle Moshe Levi Be'er Torah Azois. Moshe started revealing Torah Shemal Peh. When did Moshe start revealing Torah Shemal Peh? In Parshas Dvarim it says, in the beginning of Dvarim, Moshe starts to reveal Torah Shemal Peh, right? And Rashi says that he was matargim the Torah to the 7 Lashonos. That's the beginning of Torah Shemal Peh. What day of that in the year is that? Shvat. It's Rosh Chodesh Shvat. How many days later did Moshe pass away? 36 days later. Because the revelation of Torah Shemal Peh is the gather of 36. Now we can unpack a little what this idea is. There's the Or, there's a light that shines in the Beis Hamikdash, the Bayis Yushin, in Nevuah, Torah Shebiksav, in the written Torah, in the times of prophecy. That's Or Yasher. When there's a revelation of Or Yasher, there's no poil. There's no participator. In order for the prophet to receive prophecy, they had to mizvatal. They dropped on the floor, and the prophecy just flew through them. There was no point. They weren't poiled. They were meichid. They prepared themselves for prophecy, and they had the effects of the prophecy. But when there was no poil, there was no gavra. There was the chefs of Nevuah that was passing through them. There was the object of prophecy that was passing through them, but the gavra was completely nullified. Because to receive that light, that oir gadol, there can't be a participator. There can't be a poil. There can't be a madlik. Ksher bizarre. It's kosher even with the zor. But there's even a deeper light. That oil was nignaz. That oil was hidden in Torah Shemal Peh. And that's the chiddush of Chanukah. What's the chiddush of Chanukah? If you know the story of Chanukah, just a very basic story. It was a Bayis Sheni. The Bayis Sheni was instigated and started by people. They were minor prophets, but it was basically an initiative that came through the king, through the authorities. They built a Beis HaMikdash. And there was a big machlokes by Klal Yisrael if this is the proper place, is the Shekhinah going to rest? And there were no miracles. It wasn't like the Bayis Rishon. What did Chanukah show? Chanukah's story was, Chanukah is the first Yom Tov of Torah Shemal Peh. When you say Asher Kishonim B'Tzoyis Tzivonu Lahadik Ner Shel Chanukah, when you say you thank Hashem for giving you a blessing, for commanding you to make the bracha on Chanukah, you look through the entire Torah, it never says anywhere you have to bench Chanukah. But you say Asher Kishonim B'Tzoyis B'Tzivonu, because Chanukah is when we're participating. Hanukkah is when we're revealing the Or HaNiglas in Torah Shemal Peh. When we're revealing that Or. When the Shekhinah came down to this world because our participation. Because we're all Or Gadol. We were walking in darkness. The Beis HaMikdash was in shambles. And it looked completely destroyed. And we found a jug of oil. And we lit the candle. And Hashem said, that's exactly what I want from you. And if you're going to find and you're going to search and you're going to go deeper and deeper and bring out that light, my presence will rest. And this is a participatory thing. This is not the Or Yasher that was originally given on creation. That was a gift. That was revealed in the Bayis Rishon. This is actually the opposite. This was Dafka Hadlaka. Dafka the Poil. Not so much the Nifl, the Poil. It's about us. It's all about us. It's about the Tachton rising. About the Tachton participating and elevating himself. This is Torah Shemal Peh. And this is why we celebrate Chanukah. This is why Chanukah is the beginning of the celebration of Lasi Laveh. Because this is the Or HaShechina, the divine light, the presence of Hashem in this world, that's not given to us as a gift, but it's given to us because we earn it, and we create it, and we create the proper vessels so this light should shine. Dafka, specifically through the darkness, and through the hardship, and through toiling, and through questioning, and through exile, this is the highest light that can be revealed. That's why Adlaka is a mitzvah Chanukah. One other point I want to say. The Greeks, Choshech, the Medrash says Choshech is a Yavam. Choshech, darkness is Yavam. One of the Chidushim of the Greeks was sport for sport's sake. Normally people think, or eating for eating's sake. Normally people think that there's a means and there's an end. You eat so you can healthy, so you can do something productive in your life. You exercise, you can be healthy, you can do something productive in your life. The Greeks from Machadish, they're empiricalists. They looked at the thing, the world as is, and they said, the means is the end. The means is the end. What is the classic way to phrase the counter to that idea? The counter to that idea is that, no, every means has an end. That the tachlis of eating is l'shem shamayim. You're eating l'shem shamayim for the purpose of heaven. You're doing this l'shem something else. But that's not the oimer. That's not the depth. The highest level is to transform the klipa itself. Instead of saying things that the means is the end, let's try to phrase this in a cute way, the end is in the means. Not the means is the end. Not the tachlis is to eat. The tachlis to eat is tachlis to be on a spiritual madrega. That l'shem shamayim. And the tachlis, the deeper depth of eating, is b'chol b'checha de'ev. Is in the action itself. When you live in the life, in the present of la'asid lava. Not la'asid lava, you're working towards a la'asid. That's l'shem shamayim. This is the Or Shenignaz la'asid lava. It's the light that's revealed la'asid lava. The Chiddush of Baal Shem is that the Or was hidden in Torah, in the present. And the Chiddush Taka of the Baal Shem is that you don't eat l'shem shamayim, but b'chol derchecha de'ein, that in the action itself you know Hashem. That the everything that we do in this world, the end is in the means. The tachlis is in every means that we do. And everything that we do has a kavanah, has an intention. And we have to go deeply into the action itself. And this is maybe another knech on why Taka Adlaka is a mitzvah. Because the kavanah of Chanukah is not that we light candles. On Shabbos you light candles for kavod ha'oineg, or maybe for simcha. You light candles so you should have more honor for Shabbos. You should have more pleasure so you can see what to eat. But on Chanukah it's a very paradoxical type of candle. You light the candle, but yet it has no utilitarian value. You can't do anything with the candles. Oh, just see it. Normally you light a candle for a tachlis, for a purpose so you can eat better, so it becomes light, or to create joy. No, here you light the candle, the same lighting the candle. Why? Because that's the oimik of the Torah wants. The Torah wants to show you that Chanukah is the overcoming of the Yevonim. That the Yevonim say that every means is an end. And we say that every end is in every means. That every single thing that we do is infused with kavanah and intention and higher consciousness and a connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And this is what Chanukah is all about. And we take every single prop in our life, every single detail in our life, that every single choshev that we have, we don't say it's for a la'asid lavoi, it's for a future, it has a kavanah for a future, but we can see the light, mamish in the present. And that's the Gila Ashkina that we have to bring down a Chanukah. That's the Nikudah. The rest we have to figure out.